Speccing a brand new motorcycle is one of life's great pleasures, but it reveals a weakness in the human psyche that manufacturers are all too eager to exploit. I'm talking, of course, about the irresistible urge to tick those option boxes in the online configurator in what I might boldly argue is the mistaken belief that you'll be getting a better bike. I see it time and time again in online forums, people proudly announcing to the world that they have gone full option. Now, when it was launched, the Transalp came in for some stick for not coming with more equipment as standard. Yeah, the standard bike's competitively priced, but when you add on the price of the accessory packs, it suddenly becomes expensive in a sort of, I could buy a decent used GS for that price kind of way. But this is clever manipulation on the manufacturer's part, as they seek to lure you in, convince you that you can't possibly live without all these add-ons. They give them enticing names and call them options as if they're giving you the choice. Oh, how considerate. And after all, they're not that expensive, are they? I mean, £290 for the comfort pack, £750 for the adventure pack. Figures that almost pale into insignificance when you're shelling out $10,000 on the bike. More if you include the insurance and, judging by online forums and Facebook groups, the obligatory colour-matching helmet and jacket. These options sound so irresistible, don't they? Comfort pack. Well, I don't want to be uncomfortable on my new bike, do I? So I'd better have that. And who wants an adventure bike without an adventure pack? I mean, I might be in the middle of the Sahara and quickly need some fog lights. Better tick that box as well. And look at this option on the right, the plus pack. Oh my God, who doesn't want a plus bike? You just have to have them, right? Ah, that's more like it. The thing is, though, I would argue that when your bike actually arrives, you forget completely about that tank bag, the heated grips, or the touring screen that you thought was so important during the long wait for delivery. You just enjoy riding the bike. You don't need half the options you ordered. In fact, on many occasions, you regret your choices and wish you'd taken more time to study the aftermarket offerings. I would argue that patience is a virtue here because the third-party solutions are often better quality, they look nicer, they cost less, and of course, as you have to wait a couple of months for them to appear on the market, you end up only buying the stuff that you actually need. Now, one thing that appealed to me about the Transalp was Honda's bare bones approach. I don't really need cruise control or auxiliary lights. I prefer to do my research online and add exactly what I want from whichever manufacturer I choose once I've ridden a few hundred kilometers and found out exactly what I'm really going to use. And that's what I've done. Luggage SW Motech, protection Hepco Becker down below and Barkbusters up top. And okay, a handful of minor Honda accessories that my dealer gracefully threw in for free. Let's take a closer look. I'll begin with the luggage, but feel free to skip ahead to the other sections if you're already kitted out in this department. Now, I've been a fan of SW Motech stuff for years, and one of the first ever videos on this channel was a review of their Blaze panniers on my 2019 Honda CB500X. Their gear is expensive, but you really get what you pay for, and it is very, very good quality. I'd argue better than OEM, in fact. Now, I don't want to get into a debate over soft versus hard luggage, other than to say that for day trips I prefer soft, and on longer trips involving more restaurant breaks, sightseeing and overnight stays, I tend to favour hard luggage for its added security. You can lock the cases shut and lock them to the bike to minimise the risk of theft. As I'm still waiting for these new SW Motech Dusk hard cases to come into stock, however, for the purposes of this video, I'll just be reviewing this soft luggage that I already have. I'll start with the tank bag, which I use the most and tend to keep on the Transalp all the time, and then work my way back. Now, SW Motech's bike-specific tank rings screw onto the fuel filler, and then you just sort of throw the bag onto it, and it latches in place very securely with their proprietary magnetic locking mechanism. Taking it off is a bit more awkward. You need to pull this red strap to release the magnets, and the bag just slips off. You do need quite a firm pull, and on the Transalp, access isn't the easiest, but it's no biggie as I rarely remove the bag anyway. I began with the Pro Engage bag, which I bought for a previous bike, the Triumph Trident I think it was, but now I've moved up to the City bag, which is slightly larger, has two side pockets, and more importantly for my OCD, follows the line of the tank on the Transalp perfectly. Everything is very soft and so shouldn't damage the tank, but the tip closest to the rider can sometimes make contact with the tank when the bag is full, so I've put some protective film on the paintwork just to be extra safe. SW Motech used to include a roll of this with all their bags for just this purpose, but strangely there wasn't any with this city bag. Don't know if this is a policy change on their part or just an oversight with my particular bag, but as I had plenty of spare offcuts in the garage anyway, it wasn't really a problem for me. Like much of their soft luggage, this city tank bag is water resistant rather than waterproof, but they do supply a waterproof inner bag that you can slip inside and carry around if you want to. I don't bother. As with their other bags, the city can be expanded by undoing this zip if you need a couple more litres, but I find that there's ample room for everyday carry, phone, wallet, camera equipment, bottle of water, puncture repair kit, etc. Now you might be thinking that the tank bag could impede my view of the dash when I'm riding, but here's a picture of what I see when I'm on the bike, camera held up against my eyes, and as you can see, there's no problem at all. Similarly, the bag doesn't feel claustrophobic, as there's a good 20 centimetres or 8 inches between my stomach and the closest part of the bag. Now, moving to the back, we find the Blaze panniers that I reviewed a few years ago. These are actually the Pro version that was launched about 2 years ago. I think the standard version has actually now been discontinued. The Pro model basically gives you a beige rather than red interior and a semi-rigid concave outer panel providing slightly improved water resistance and carrying capacity, as well as just looking a bit more premium. Now officially SW Motech won't be providing the mounting brackets for the Transalp, which I think is a pity as these Blaze bags look good. I've read on forums however that the bracket from the CB500X can be modified quite easily to hold the bags in place, but as I'll be needing these Pro side carriers for the dusk cases when they're available, I decided to use them to secure the Blaze panniers as a semi-temporary solution. Very straightforward to fit, and they do work very well. They're strong and can easily be removed via these quick release lock nuts using a large screwdriver or even a coin at a pinch should you need to. Unlike other rack systems, they are relatively discreet and don't protrude too much from the bike, meaning your bike isn't overly wide once the Blaze bags are on. I'm looking forward to trying them out with the dusk cases hopefully next month. I'm not saying I'd put them on my Speed Twin, but on an adventure style bike like the Transalp, I think the racks look fine, and so I leave mine on all the time, even when I'm not carrying any luggage. They're superbly well made, good quality, powder coated steel, and if the angles of these support arms were off by a single degree, they wouldn't fit properly, but they're spot on, so well done SW Motech, faultless design and manufacturing as usual. This is why I would always advise that for important items like this, you be wary of Chinese knockoffs. They may well be advertised at a fifth of the price, but what you actually receive often doesn't match what you see in the photos. It has been known for unscrupulous sellers to Photoshop the original product, removing logos for example, claim it as their own, and then send you a cheap knockoff. Buy cheap, buy twice, as they say. The bags have a capacity of 15 litres per side, expandable to 20 litres for a total maximum of 40 litres. There are also thin pockets on either side, though these are really only good for carrying documents, paper maps or toll tickets. Now, if I'm going on a longer trip, say more than 3 or 4 nights, then I'll probably also strap on the Pro Rearbag. The bottom is contoured to fit most seats. It goes perfectly on my Speed Twin and ADV scooter, but it doesn't quite match the Transalp seat. Not a problem, as I tend to position it slightly further back anyway, so that it sort of sits halfway on the seat and halfway on the rear rack. Installation and removal is simple, but slightly long-winded, as you have to find 4 suitable anchor points on the bike and then clip each corner of the bag to the adjustable straps provided. Long-winded? Well, you can secure all 4 corners in under a minute, but compared to their tank, which clips on in literally 1 second with their magnetic mechanism, it does seem a bit of a faff. It would be great if in the next iteration of the bag they could come up with a tank bag style ring and magnet system that could be attached to the rear rack in such a way as to allow the tail ring to be thrown on as easily as the tank bag. Givi have gone halfway with this tank ring style base for the pillion seat, but it has to be strapped on, somewhat defeating the object. What I'd really like to see is a base that fixes permanently to the rear rack. SW Motech, if you're watching. The bag itself has a capacity of 22 litres, which can be expanded to a useful 34 litres. It's water resistant and is the most suitcase shaped of all my bags, making it easier to load with things like laptops, shirts and jeans, and for carrying into your hotel or Airbnb. Now, before I wind up on my luggage options, I'd like to give an honourable mention to these mini bags that I've picked up over the years, mostly from Decathlon, a large French sporting goods chain found in many European cities. They're actually designed for cyclists and have a carrying capacity of between 0.5 and 1 litre. They're not especially tough or waterproof, but they are very cheap. No motorcycle tax here. I paid between about 4 and 15 euros for each of these, and they're great for strapping to handlebars or rear subframes if you're only going out for a quick ride. They're big enough for the essentials and discreet enough not to be noticed. I use them on my Speed Twin to carry a multi-tool, a bottle of hand gel and a couple of cable ties. Now, the bag on the left is the smallest tail bag I've ever come across, with a capacity of just 2 litres, but it's great if I want to carry a few more bits and bobs. It's made by a British company called Autokicker, and I found it on Amazon a few years ago for under £20. Unfortunately though, they now seem to sell exclusively through their own website and only ship to addresses in the UK, which is a pity. Links in the description if you're interested. Right, on to protection. Now, this is really a follow-up to the video I posted a few weeks ago on why I decided against full-height crash bars in favour of the Hepco Becker lower bars plus Barkbuster handguards. As I explained in that video, I'm not really into hardcore off-roading, so was just looking for some basic protection to avoid serious damage in the event of a drop. The bars from Hepco are visually discreet and, combined with the Barkbusters, offer the level of crash protection that I was looking for. The oil filter and sump on the Transalp are very prone to damage from stones being thrown up by the front wheel, as well as from larger rocks that I may ride over, so I did want to add the bash plate. Installation took longer than I thought. It's not technically difficult, although you will need a good range of tools. It's more that as soon as you put the plate onto the bar, access to the bolts, which are mostly on the inside, becomes awkward. You will need some flex head spanners to tighten them. Once it's securely in place though, the 4mm thick powder coated aluminium plate, which weighs a respectable 2.5 kilos, covers up the fragile underbelly of the Transalp very well and looks as though it will protect the bike from all but the worst of bashes. I personally prefer the more pared back look over what Honda and SW Motech are currently offering, and I also think the more open design should help with heat dissipation, which is always a concern here in the summer. Negatives? Well, apart from the slightly involved installation process, Hepco does tend to be a bit overzealous when it comes to applying their logo to their products. I get why they do it, but it's something I could do without, and if I'm being honest, it does put me off buying their luggage. The crash bars had a sticker on, so that was easily removable, but they've riveted this logo onto the bash plate, which makes things much more complicated. I did consider drilling out the rivets before I installed the plate, but I didn't want to damage it, so I've left it for the moment. I may put some black tape over it or spray it black at some stage, but other than that, the Hepco engine guard and bash plate combo gets a big thumbs up. So, is there any room for OEM accessories? Well, there are 3 options that I always try to source from the manufacturer, namely radiator guard, heated grips and quick shifter. Now, as luck would have it, when I ordered the Transalp, Honda Portugal were throwing in a free quick shifter and 400 euros worth of accessories. Great! So I ordered the Honda radiator guard, which I've since painted black to make less visible, because if there's ever an engine problem related to overheating, they won't be able to say that my aftermarket guard was too restricted and that I voided my warranty. I also get the quick shifter because, well, why would you go aftermarket on something that's so clearly a part of the engine? And the heated grips because even if aftermarket offerings like those from Oxford are hotter, apparently, they don't integrate nearly as well into the bike, and you have an ugly control box on the handlebars compared to the button and dash indicator you get with the manufacturer's solution. A final word on protection, although this time it's about me the rider rather than the bike itself. I've fitted Honda's tall windscreen. The standard one was okay, but I was getting wind on the top 5 to 10 centimeters of my helmet, and for some reason the top deflector I borrowed from my ADV scooter didn't seem to help much. You get a slightly larger screen cowl, curiously, with the taller windscreen, and this involved dismantling the dash, and as I also had to refit the side deflectors and accessory bar in the same holes, it was a bit fiddly, and I ended up asking my son to lend me a second pair of hands. Total install time was about 30 minutes, but results so far are positive. However, the constant hot weather over the past few weeks here has meant I haven't been able to give it a good long distance test yet. So you see, OEM isn't all bad. My point with this video is that you need to have a good think. Don't just wildly tick all the options on the configurator. Be patient, ride the bike, reflect about what you genuinely need, and wait a few weeks for aftermarket suppliers to get their hands on the bike and come up with more elegant, more practical, and sometimes more cost-effective options. Why didn't I go full SW Motech or full Hepco Becker? Well, because while I found Hepco's elegant crush bar stroke bash plate solution perfectly suited to my off-road protection needs, I don't think their luggage is quite as nice as Motech's, either aesthetically or in terms of the mounting mechanisms. Similarly, Motech's bash plate, while no doubt providing supreme crush protection, is a bit too tank-like, too armour-plated for what I intend doing with my Transalp. There's enough choice out there for us to cherry-pick exactly what we want, so bide your time, have a good look around, join a few Facebook groups and choose wisely. Anyway, that's it for today. I hope you found some of the information useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Stay tuned to see what I think of the new SW Motech side cases, hopefully next month. If you've come across any other nice aftermarket add-ons for the Transalp or any other bike, let us know in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching.